Whispers in the shadows. The Yowie's haunting return. The sun was just beginning to dip behind the dense tapestry of eucalyptus trees, casting elongated shadows that crawled across the forest floor, swallowing the fading light. I leaned against the rough bark of an ancient gum tree, its smooth, pale trunk warm beneath my palm. My name is Eleanor, and I had come to Australia filled with dreams of adventure and folklore. What I had not anticipated was that my fascination with cryptids would lead me to the edge of something far darker than I had ever imagined. It was whispers in the pub that had drawn me to these woods, stories of the Yowie, a creature so elusive that even the bravest bushwalkers barely dared to breathe its name. A beast that left only the slightest trace of its existence, a broken branch, an unusual footprint, the echo of a chilling howl. I had spent countless nights poring over dusty books and online forums, each tale weaving a web of intrigue that ensnared my imagination. But I didn't just want to believe, I wanted to see. You know, they say the Yowie only shows itself to those with pure intentions, my friend Marcus had said, a teasing glint in his eye as we shared a pint. You ought to brace yourself, Ellie. You might just find yourself face to face with the damned thing. At the time, I had laughed it off, thinking of the stories as mere entertainment. But as I stood in the aromatic embrace of the bush, the sound of cicadas buzzing like miniature chainsaws in the fading light, I felt a ripple of unease flutter in my stomach. Perhaps it was the lingering stories wrapped around my mind like a coiling serpent. Or perhaps it was the sudden stillness of the forest that gave me pause. No birds chirped, no wind whispered through the leaves. It was as if nature itself held its breath, waiting. With a deep inhale, I brushed off my nerves and pressed onward, deeper into the woods. The uneven ground crunched beneath my boots, the remnants of an earlier rain still clinging to the earth. Each step was accompanied by the scent of damp soil and crushed leaves. I'd packed a small rucksack with essentials, a flashlight, a water bottle, a notebook, and a camera. The expectation of encountering the Yowie flared in my chest like a lit fuse. As twilight settled, the shadows stretched longer, and I began to feel the isolation wrapping around me like a heavy cloak. There was something surreal about the atmosphere, a peculiar weight pressing down on my shoulders as the sun vanished entirely. The trees loomed taller and more foreboding. I barely noticed the aching in my legs, consumed by my own thoughts. And then I heard it, a low growl, vibrating through the air and resonating deep within my bones. My heart stuttered, and I froze, the hairs on my neck prickling. It was unlike any sound I had ever heard, a guttural thrumming that seemed to resonate from the very heart of the forest. I swallowed hard, and a sliver of fear crept into my mind. Was it a Yowie, or something equally sinister lurking in the shadows? I glanced around, clutching my camera like a security blanket, its cold metal offering little comfort. The world was painted in shades of indigo and silver, the moonlight barely penetrating the canopy above. I took a tentative step back, scanning the underbrush for movement. Nothing stirred, but I felt the prickling sensation of being watched. A chill snaked down my spine. "Hello?" I ventured, my voice trembling in the silence. "Is anyone there?" The only reply was the echo of my own desperation, swallowed whole by the forest. I was about to turn and head back, but something within me, the thrill-seeker, the believer, urged me to continue, deeper into the unknown. A snap of a twig punctured the silence, and I leapt around, camera raised. My breath came fast, heart thumping in my chest like a war drum. The shadows shifted, a dark silhouette moving just beyond the reach of the feeble light. I held my breath, fingers trembling on the shutter button, and then it appeared. A towering figure, almost mythic in its form. Hair matted and dark, it stood upright, its limbs long and powerful. It was a creature of nightmares, a Yowie come to life, and I fought the urge to scream. The beast's eyes glinted in the moonlight, intelligent, calculating, but I could detect something else. Sadness. "Please," I whispered, almost instinctively lowering the camera. "I'm not here to hurt you." To my astonishment, the creature seemed to hesitate, its massive shoulders tensing as it regarded me. time suspended, the world around us fading into a hushed stillness again. And in my heart, beneath the initial surge of fear, I felt a strange connection, a synergy of curiosity and compassion. The Yowie stepped closer, its massive frame moving with surprising grace. I could see its features more clearly now. The broad brow, the deep-set eyes that were imbued with a soulful understanding, and the faint scars that marred its thick flesh, marking battles fought and won, or perhaps lost. "What do you want from me?" I asked, voice barely a whisper, as if raising my voice could shatter the fragile moment. I just wanted to understand, to see. It stood, wavering, emotions flickering across its face like shadows. Was it possible? Could this creature, feared and revered in equal measure, be as lost and lonely as I felt in that moment? The air was thick, crackling with tension as I took a cautious step forward. Suddenly, a sharp shout echoed through the trees, shattering the stillness like glass. "Eleanor, where are you?" It was Marcus, his panicked voice piercing the fragile bond I had begun to forge with the Yowie. My heart sank. The creature flinched at the sound, its eyes darting towards the direction of the call. I felt a jolt of panic. Was I about to lose this moment? This connection? "No, wait," I cried, but it was too late. The Yowie turned a quick pivot, fading into shadows like a ghost slipping through a door hidden in the dark. I felt the hollow ache of loss settle in my gut as I watched it vanish. Instinctively, I wanted to follow, but Marcus's footsteps were growing closer. "Eleanor, there you are." He rushed into view, worry etched on his face, oblivious to the otherworldly encounter that had just taken place. I struggled for words, my heart racing. "I saw it, Marcus. I saw the Yowie." He frowned, glancing at the empty space where the creature had stood. "You've been out here too long. It's time to head back." "But—" "No buts. Come on. We can come back in the morning." His voice was firm, leaving no room for argument. Disappointment flooded through me. A crushing realization that what I had encountered would remain my secret. A fleeting touch of magic, swallowed by the mundane. As we retraced our steps through the darkening woods, I couldn't shake the feeling of eyes watching me again. I turned for one last look at the tree line, but there was only the rustling leaves in response. The experience had been brief, yet the depth of it left a lingering ache in my heart. I couldn't explain it to Marcus. He wouldn't understand. I had glimpsed something extraordinary beneath the veneer of legend, a creature yearning for companionship, lost in its own world, just as I was often lost in mine. Long after we had returned to the safety of the pub, surrounded by the flickering light of old lamps and the hum of conversation, my thoughts wandered back to the woods. The air, thick with laughter and life, felt so contrasting compared to that sacred silence I had felt. I sipped my drink, but the warmth of the alcohol did little to thaw the chill that had wrapped around my heart. And I knew without a doubt that I would return, drawn back to the shadows, the whispered secrets of the forest, and the haunting possibility of the Yowie, waiting just beyond the trees. The following evening, the moon hung low and heavy, spilling its silvery light across the forest floor like a blanket. I hadn't told Marcus of my plan. He would only worry, dismissing my urge to return as youthful folly. Yet a part of me felt compelled, an irresistible pull echoing in my chest, urging me deeper into the woods. As I slipped out of the pub, a cool breeze tugged playfully at my jacket, sending a shiver through me. I took a steadying breath, the earthy scent of damp leaves and moss enveloping me as I stepped onto the moonlit path. Each crunch of twigs beneath my feet felt like a heartbeat, a reminder that I was alive, that I was here, pursuing something unimaginable. With every inch I ventured away from the warm glow of the pub, the shadows thickened, wrapping around me like an embrace. I clutched my flashlight, its beam piercing the darkness ahead, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being pulled towards something far greater than myself. The woods seemed to breathe, a rhythmic pulse matching the quickening of my heart. "Hello?" I called into the emptiness, my voice trembling slightly. It felt ridiculous, but I hoped to coax the creature back, to bridge the gap between our worlds. "Is anyone there?" Silence was my answer, dense and expectant. I hesitated, glancing behind to ensure I was truly alone, but the path was deserted. Taking a deep breath, I continued further in, the trees standing tall and indifferent, guardians of ancient secrets. Moments stretched into what felt like hours. The cold seeped into my bones, and doubt began to gnaw at me. Maybe I had imagined the whole thing. Maybe I wasn't meant to find the Yowie again. I was about to turn back when a low rumble echoed through the trees, the sound a blend of growl and whisper, melodic and dreadful. The hair on my arms stood on end as the sound reverberated in my chest. I shone my flashlight toward the source. The beam flickered, as if acknowledging the presence of something beyond its reach. Shadows danced before me, twisting and contorting as a figure emerged, rippling with darkness like a living shadow. My breath caught in my throat. It was the Yowie, but it seemed different. Its eyes glowed like twin coals of ember, reflecting the moonlight with an almost sentient spark. It stood taller than I remembered, its shaggy coat blending seamlessly with the draping shadows around us. "Eleanor," the creature spoke, its voice low and resonant, a sound that rumbled through the ground beneath my feet. It wasn't just a word, it felt like a calling, a recognition of who I was. "You came back." A mix of fright and exhilaration coursed through me. I was paralyzed, caught between fear and awe, overwhelmed by the very idea that this extraordinary creature knew my name. "I did," I finally replied, my voice trembling. "I had to see you again. I hope you don't mind." The Yowie tilted its head, its gaze piercing through the darkness, and I sensed a sorrow that mirrored my own. "You seek what is lost," it said softly, the words wrapping around me like a shroud. "We are travelers, both adrift in our worlds." I took a tentative step closer, my pulse quickening as I hungered for a connection, something to fill the void within me. "I felt so alone," I admitted, barely able to keep my voice steady. "No one understands. Not really." The Yowie took a step forward, the air around us charged with energy. "In the depths of isolation, there lies a bond," it whispered, "between creatures of the wild and spirits of the lost." My heart raced. It was as if the weight of the world had lifted, if only for a moment. The longing I felt for understanding, for someone to share my burdens, echoed in the depths of that creature's eyes. I reached out, feeling the cool air brush against my fingertips, yearning to touch everything. And just as quickly as the moment had bloomed, the Yowie began to step back, disappearing into the shadows once more, my connection to it slipping through my grasp. "Wait," I called, desperation tinging my voice. "Can't you stay?" It paused, half-turned to me, a flicker of sorrow crossing its face. "You must return to your world, Eleanor. But know this, you are never truly alone. You carry the bond within you." With that, the Yowie melted back into the shadows, leaving me standing in the eerie stillness of the forest. A hollow ache filled my chest, but beneath it simmered something new. A flicker of hope, a secret understanding woven between the realms of my life and the mysteries hidden in the woods. As I turned to head back, the moonlight guided my steps, and the whisper of the forest felt like a warm embrace. I had tasted the extraordinary, and even though it had slipped away, I would carry it with me, a part of my heart forever entwined with the wild, and perhaps one day I would return to the shadows again. The path back felt different, alive, almost as if the trees were reaching toward me, their gnarled branches swaying in a dance I had never noticed before. The echoes of the Yowie's presence shimmered in my mind, rippling through my thoughts as I replayed its words. "You are never truly alone." It filled me with a strange warmth, even as the cool brush of night air tightened around my skin. As I walked, the forest seemed to hum with unseen energy, each rustle and crackle resonating within me. I paused, squeezing my eyes shut, taking a deep breath, holding the cool, earthy scent of the forest in my lungs. But with that came a sudden realization. What if the bond the Yowie spoke of extended beyond mere companionship? What if there were more souls in this world, lost as I had been? I felt a pulse of vulnerability, the tender thread of connection that bound me not just to the Yowie, but to the vast tapestry of life that surrounded me. Suddenly, a whisper broke through my reverie, I turned, scanning the underbrush, heart thundering. But the forest remained still, watching. "Hello?" I called out, voice trembling. I half expected the shadows to shift, for the Yowie to materialize again. But the silence felt heavier, more palpable. "Did you find what you were looking for?" Another voice, clearer this time, echoed out, tinged with a teasing lilt. It was a young woman, stepping lightly from behind a nearby tree, her form wrapped in a cloak of shadows. Who are you?" I stammered, trying to gather myself. She looked ethereal, her pale skin shimmering under the moonlight, her dark hair cascading around her shoulders like an ink spill. "I'm just a wanderer like you," she replied, her smile bright yet haunting. "Searching for the lost, the unknown. But you, there's something different about you." I shifted uncomfortably, clutching my arms. "I'm not lost," I insisted, though a part of me felt the familiar tug of that very word. "You are," she sang softly, yet piercingly. "We all are. In our own way. You felt it tonight, didn't you? The connection to the wild." I nodded slowly, feeling the weight of her gaze, the intensity of her presence. I spoke to something, a creature. Her eyes sparkled with delight, as if I had just shared a cherished secret. The Yowie? A rare encounter. She stepped closer, the air thickening with an unseen tension. It doesn't often reveal itself to those who aren't ready to understand. "I'm not sure what I understand," I murmured, the ache in my chest resuming its steady thrum. "But I felt so connected. I just want to feel less alone." Her face softened. "This forest is a tapestry of souls intertwined. It hears your heart's call, and in return it shares its secrets." I felt a whirlwind of emotions, like the wind spiraling through the trees. "But what happens when I leave, when I go back to the world?" "The bond remains," she replied, voice gentle. "You will carry it with you always, like a piece of the moon caught in your heart. It changes you forever." As she spoke, I thought of my home, the small gray apartment filled with echoes of loneliness. I pictured the worn-out couch, the blank walls, the silence that had become my only companion. Could I really carry this connection back with me? Transform my isolation into something more? "Will you show me?" I asked, emboldened by a flicker of courage. "Will you help me find what is truly lost?" A woman's smile deepened, a knowing glint lighting her eyes. "Follow me, then. But remember, the forest has its own way of testing those who seek. Not all paths lead to the light." I hesitated, the urge to retreat to the safety of my solitude grappling with a newfound determination that bubbled within me. "I'll follow you," I declared, feeling the warmth of hope unfurling like a bloom. The woman turned, leading me deeper into the woods, her figure weaving through the trees. My heartbeat steadied, syncing with the rhythm of the forest. The shadows danced around us, and I could feel the bond growing, like roots intertwining in the dark, seeking the nourishing soil of understanding. As I ventured further, with a wild heart and a soul yearning for connection, I felt the whispers of the forest wrap around me, a promise of discovery. I glanced back once, just for a moment, at the path I had taken, which shimmered faintly under the moonlight. In that moment, I knew I was ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, an adventure into the unknown, a journey to find what had been lost, but more importantly, to realize what I might still uncover within myself. The air thickened with a heady mixture of earth and pine, the aroma pulling me further into the embrace of the forest. My feet found their rhythm, and I was struck by how alive everything felt: the rustling leaves, the distant hoot of an owl, and the soft crunch of twigs beneath our feet. The woman, with her ethereal presence, seemed to meld with the environment, her silhouette glowing softly, as if she were part of the very essence of this land. "Tell me about the souls intertwined," I urged, eager to anchor my thoughts in something other than my swirling fears. She glanced over her shoulder, her eyes shimmering like stars caught in the night sky. "Each soul that wanders here leaves a trace, a piece of their essence that the forest holds close. It is a sanctuary for lost things, memories, hopes, and sometimes the fears that we cannot shake." I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of her words settle in my chest. And what if you get lost yourself? Then you find what you didn't know you were looking for, she replied cryptically as she stopped beside an ancient oak, its gnarled branches reaching out like welcoming arms. I approached it, feeling drawn to its rough bark, the way it stood staunch and resilient against the passage of time. "What do I need to find?" I whispered, thinking of all the moments I had tucked away, the happiness and sadness that shaped me. "Listen," she instructed, her voice a soft melody. I closed my eyes, attuning myself to the sounds around me. The forest was alive, a symphony of life. Then, like a sudden flash of light, I heard them, the voices. Faint at first, they grew clearer, echoing off the trees, words of laughter, of dreams once held dear, and words of sorrow that cut like thorns. I felt each emotion cut through me, a wave of nostalgia crashing over my heart. "Let them in," she encouraged, her gentle guidance a soothing balm. "Feel what they've carried within you." I opened my eyes, feeling the weight of my past, and with it an unexpected warmth. Memories swirled in the air, tangible like the mist woven through the branches. I saw flashes of joyful moments, birthdays, friendships, love, and the cold sting of betrayal, loss, and abandonment. Each voice had a story, each emotion a lesson that had remained tethered to my soul, waiting for me to acknowledge them. The woman stepped closer, her features softening with empathy. "Do you see now? Your isolation does not stem from your past. It is that you have not embraced the entirety of who you are." I nodded, tears pricking at the corners of my eyes. "How do I carry this back with me?" "By understanding that you are never truly alone," she said. "This forest will dwell within you. The bond you feared would tie you to loneliness will instead remind you of the connections you can forge anywhere." As she spoke, the whispers around me shifted. The forest had become a sanctuary of acceptance, a haven for my scattered pieces. The weight I had long carried lightened, replaced by the comforting embrace of understanding. "Come, let us take one final path," she said, reaching out her hand. I took it, feeling the warmth radiate between us. We walked deeper into the forest, turning down a narrow path illuminated by soft moonlight, every step revealing more of the beauty I had once overlooked. And then, as if the forest was holding its breath, we reached a clearing. The ground was blanketed with wildflowers, glistening under the stars, a riot of colors reflecting the wonder I felt within. "This is the heart of the forest," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Here, you are free to dwell on the past, but not be bound by it." I breathed in the fragrant air, soaking in the vibrant energy around me. It was beautiful and surreal, like a dream made real. In that moment, I made a promise to myself, to embrace the entirety of who I was, to hold on to this connection as a source of strength, and to seek out the souls that danced at the edges of my life. "Thank you," I whispered, turning to the woman. But she was gone, just another figment of the forest's enchantment, a gentle echo of hope. I stood alone in the clearing, surrounded by the voices of the past, yet beneath the weight of that history, I felt lighter than I had in years. I took a deep breath, savoring the cool night air, and turned back towards the path that would lead me home. Not just to my apartment, but into a new chapter filled with connections, compassion, and a deeper understanding of myself. With one last,